Is Lucinda your first pick?
Yeah.
Long-term compatibility with Lucinda. Who do you think?
Like right now, is Lucinda.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think Nate's more interested in Tia than he's making out to be?
Yeah.
Am I the only one who's getting sort of this bad taste in their mouth for Zach? I'm sorry. I now love Savannah. I think she's amazing. But Zach, the way he's belittling people and the way he's talking badly about Nate is rubbing me the wrong way, because Nate hasn't done anything to sort of discourage him or say anything negative about him. But since Nate came into the villa and he realized that all the girls were interested in Nate, he has had his sights set on Nate. I think if he had his way, he would have eliminated Nate and voted him out of the island so that, you know, his competition could be gone. And it's like, why? Nate is just there minding his own business. Leave him alone. Anyway, I get so heated up. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia, Season 5, Episode 3. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. We're still on our way to 1,000. Click the like button, leave a comment, and turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. The villa is messy. Oh my god. So you have everyone moving from obviously the fire pit because the recoupling is finished, and you know Trent is now going off to meet up with Kira in the waiting room. I see them being a great couple. I wish they would just focus on one another, just because Tia is all over the place. You have Tia sort of chatting with Savannah and sort of discussing or sort of trying to think of ideas of what might be happening in the waiting room and how long, you know, Trent will be gone for. And then poor Kira walks in. Oh my god, they were terrible. The way they were laughing at her and laughing at the fact that her sister slept with one of the guys in the villa was bad. And they kept going and she looked very uncomfortable. She looked like she wanted to cry. And it was good of Tia to sort of call Savannah out and say, you know, it's not a good idea because she looks very, very sad. And even in a confessional, Savannah said, oh, I feel bad, but, you know, it's very funny. I personally don't see the funny side of it. I think it's a bit too traumatic. In the sense that I wish the producers had kept it for a little bit longer, because if this guy stays in the villa for any longer, this is something that's always going to play on Kira's mind, the fact that she matched with this guy on Tinder and the guy actually slept with her sister. I don't think that was a good look. I like the fact that she was able to go and sit down with him and sort of address it and sort of put it to bed that, you know, yes, you and my sister had this thing going, but you and I are just going to be friends and that's it. Apparently Perth is a very small area, so everybody, it seems, knows everybody. Poor thing. And then you have Nate sort of having a conversation with Lucinda. They seem to have great chemistry, great banter, and they seem to really get along and sort of vibe off each other. I like how very close and very natural they are. And yet you have Zach busy strategizing with Ben. Zach has got this thing out for Nate. That's the impression that I'm getting. The idea that Nate would have girls sort of drooling over him, he can't fathom that. And so he's sort of trying to minimize the fact that Nate has a connection with Lucinda. He was saying, oh, you know, Lucinda, when she called Nate, she was looking at me, so I have a feeling she wanted me, but then she just changed them. And it's like, no, you put her off. The way you were talking about yourself and the way you were reacting and sort of wanting her to suck up to you is the reason why she wasn't interested. I think because he watched her and he watched how she moves, he thought if he played hard to get, she would pick him, and she didn't pick him. So it's going to be sad. I think he's going to come in and be a wedge between Nate and Lucinda, which is very bad. Very, very bad. I don't know why he would do that. You have Tia sort of having a conversation with Reed. I like the fact that Lucinda told Nate that, you know, Tia said she was interested in Reed. That way Nate knows that, you know, he can't, you know, go after Tia, because Tia is going after every shiny object that's in sight. She doesn't seem to have her mind set on anyone, which is good. But also, you don't want a reputation in the villa of being someone who just hops from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy. I think that's a bit off. You have Trent sort of having a conversation with Nakia. They sort of are trying to sort of see if there's anything there. I wish they would give it a chance, because I think Trent is going to get his heart broken if he's not careful. And Zach looks like somebody's stolen his girlfriend, the way he's so upset and the way he was heartbroken when they said Trent was going to the waiting room, and it's like, you're just buddies, move on. Zach is going to be the Mitch of the Australia version. I swear. I can see this happening, because he and Ben then come up with the spin the bottle game, and it's like, why are you that bored? And it was going to be messy. And he, I think, spoke to the producers and told them he wanted to kiss Lucinda. That's the impression that I get. Because you had Nate kissed Tyra, and that was amazing because they gave each other a peck after the kiss, which was cute. Tia got to kiss Ben, and she also got to kiss Reed, and she really seemed to enjoy herself kissing Reed. You had, who else? You had Lucinda. She had to kiss Zach because that's where the bottle went, and she told him, keep your tongue in your mouth, and he still put his tongue in her mouth. And she actually said it. She said it was a good kiss, but I didn't expect the tongue. And it's like, he actually gave this thesis of, this little boy was watching this amazing girl on TV, and now he's the guy on TV kissing the amazing girl. And it's like, why? I think he saw that Mitch stayed on the show by being Mitch all season on the UK version, and he's decided to be the Mitch of the Australia version, and that way he can stay in the villa for as long as possible. It was cute to see how Nate and Lucinda behaved when the other was kissing somebody else, how they were covering their eyes and they couldn't really look. And you had Kira sort of helping Nate cover his eyes when Lucinda was kissing Zach, and it's like, oh, okay. And even Nate saw it, that Zach's goal was always going to be to kiss Lucinda, and he really went in guns blazing. It's not like he listened to what she said, because she told him before, but hey, it is what it is. And then they start wondering what's happening in the waiting room, because you have Nakia and you have Trent in there. And Trent and Nakia are actually having a conversation, and she's sort of explaining to him that the reason the girls haven't come for you is because you seemed very content in your coupling, and everyone just got the impression that you were not interested in anybody else, so that's why we left you alone. And he's sort of starting to see that maybe he closed the door too early, and he should have maybe explored with other girls, which I truly believe he should have done. Poor Nate, how is he trusting the enemy? Because he goes to have his conversation with Zach. I think he just didn't want there to be awkwardness. So he thought he was being honest about his conversations with Lucinda. That way, he can ease any tension that might be brewing between him and Zach. And so he was honest. He said, Lucinda's my first choice because I don't trust Tia given how she's moved. So I'd rather somebody who picks me first, and I pick them first. So I'm stuck with Lucinda as my choice. And I think this is going to backfire because of the way Zach kept asking him, who's your first choice? Who's your first choice? Who's your first choice? I think he was hoping that Nate would say Tia, because if Nate said Tia, he was going to run with it to Lucinda. But I can still see him doing that. And it's like, why does he have to be that messy? Why? I don't get it. He's so childish and so annoying. So the islanders go to sleep, and as expected, Tia starts making out in bed with Reese. They ended up with a cuddle, and it's like, make it make sense. You chose Trent, said you really liked him, kissed him, and then you said you liked Nate. You went after Nate, and now you're going after Reed. Who do you really like? Please make it make sense. And you had Lucinda and Nate. They were cuddling in bed. It was cute as well. And in the morning, obviously, the islanders that were in the waiting room came out and joined the rest of the group. And I knew as soon as I saw them come out that Zach was going to come out running, and he would head straight for his mate. And I think they need to let them couple up. Zach and Trent need to couple up and just be a couple and just avoid all the drama, because they're so toxic. It's unbelievable. I can't stand Zach at all, because then he starts talking about the fact that he's trying to minimize a connection between other people just because he wants to make himself look good. Because he's saying that, oh, I think Lucinda picked Nate just because she wanted to make me jealous because I wasn't complimenting her. No, that's not it. Your arrogance is the reason why she didn't pick you. Your disrespect is the reason why she didn't pick you. And now that you've seen that they're not working, you're running around making her coffee and kissing her on the cheek. Which one is it? Is it the standoffish Zach, or is it the Zach that's sucking up and hoping he can win the girl? Make it make sense. I don't like it at all. I really don't. And it's sad that the guys are now starting to label Tia as untrustworthy. So I have a feeling that they're all going to end up just leaving her, and she might end up going home when she thought, you know, she was doing the right thing by sort of exploring a lot of connections. That way she has a safety net. So it's interesting that only the girls had a debriefing. The guys didn't have a debriefing outside of the conversation between Zach and Trent, and that's normal for them. So Tia then says, you know, she wants to have a conversation with Trent, but she doesn't know if she needs to have a conversation with Trent because, you know, she's not sure of what she wants exactly. And that's the impression that I'm getting. She then decides to, you know, she'll say how it is, but she might have a conversation with him. You have... you know, Nikia sort of mentioned that the night that she spent in the waiting room with Trent, they had a conversation and they discovered that they do have some things in common and they're going to explore that. But her number one is still Zach. And it's like, when did it change? When did Zach become her number one? Because this even shocked Lucinda, because Lucinda was like, what do you mean he's your number one? And she said, well, he told me I'm his number one. So he's going around telling every single girl that they're number one. He's using the Mitch textbook. He's watched the UK season and that's the textbook he's using. That's the impression that I'm getting. And I hope, if nothing else, this sort of turns the girls away from him and they sort of avoid him and leave him to do whatever he's trying to do. Anyway, the Islanders receive a message to say that there's going to be a game, so they're getting ready for this game. The heated game was messy. Well, it was nice in the sense that you didn't have to kiss 200 people, but it was messy in the questions that they were asking. And I feel like some people were going for the safe option, and sadly, it didn't create a good picture of Tia because it highlighted her flaws in the sense that she was caught, you know, making out with someone in the back of the car by the police, and, you know, I feel like she's going to break up with Trent because Trent, some of the comments that he's making are now inappropriate because he's being hyped up by his boys and he's forgetting that he's dealing with somebody's feelings and emotions. So he's being disrespectful, in my opinion, because it was then asked, you know, one of the girls owns a car. Turns out it's Tia, and you're saying to her, you know, oh, you own a car. Is that the same car that you were caught making out with someone in? And it's like, why would you say that? If you really like someone, why would you say that? That's not necessary. And that's not appropriate for you to be saying things like that. I didn't like that. I felt it was very disrespectful of Tia. If he feels he doesn't like her anymore and he wants to move on, he can do so without being disrespectful, in my opinion. Without being disrespectful, I felt it was not necessary for him to do that. It was sweet to see Nate and Lucinda pick each other and kiss each other. They seemed very comfortable and very happy. You had, you know, Nakia, she kissed Zach and she said, you know, it was nice to kiss Zach. I don't get that connection. I really don't. And Zach is very critical. The way he was hypercritical about Savannah and the fact that she kissed, you know, she had sex with a 45-year-old, and it's like, make it make sense. If that's her choice, if that's what she wants, leave it like that. You don't need to, you know, be hypercritical of someone like that. I didn't like that. It was very bad of him to say anything, really. I don't like that. I really felt it was disrespectful. I felt it was inappropriate. I felt Zach should not have said that. If he had nothing nice to say, he should have kept his opinion to himself. It wasn't necessary for him to try and tear down Savannah just because he didn't agree with her choices in life. And I don't know. It was a cute game. It was a cleaner game than most of the games on Love Island, so that I can appreciate. I personally don't like the game Savannah and Zach are playing, in the sense that they are sort of carrying tea from one group to the other, because they're playing with people's feelings and emotions, and somebody's going to get hurt, really. Because then you have Kira was speaking to Lucinda, sort of wanting to find out where she stands in regard to Zach. And she was saying her head is scrambled because Zach is applying pressure, and so she doesn't know who she really likes. I think Zach is in love with the idea of the girl he saw on the show. I don't know whether Lucinda is still the same girl that he saw on TV, but I think he's in love with the idea of Lucinda from Love Island UK. And so he wants to be the one that sort of coupled up with her and stayed with her until the very end. And that's the impression that I'm getting. I think he's playing a game. And yes, he was telling the guys that, you know, Nate is busy playing chess, he's playing checkers, or whatever analogy he was using. I don't like that. I think it's very bad. And then you have Trent and Tia finally sit down for a chat. And personally, if I were to advise Tia, I would say leave Trent. He seems like a nice guy, but the company that he keeps is very bad. And the company that he keeps is giving him advice on how to deal with this situation. I felt he was disrespectful in how he spoke to her. Even if she broke his heart, he should have, there's a way to talk to her without belittling her or making her feel less than. It's only day 3, day 4. It's not like they've been coupled up for a week. He's now expecting her to stop talking to anybody else. He needs to be realistic. He really does. She's not his wife. They're not wifed up. They've just met and they've coupled up. I think it's a very toxic trait. I think she needs to leave him and look for somebody else, because he's giving red flags. That's my opinion. He's giving red flags. So they decide to sort of cool things and sort of try and sort of see where they go. And the fact that he said, oh, you need to work on your communication. You also need to work on your communication, and you need to be able to sort of make decisions on your own without your boys hyping you up and giving you bad advice. Zach is not someone to consider a good friend, in my opinion. I'm going to keep it at that because I don't know him personally. So you have Dumb and Dumber +1, because Ben has now joined the group, having this conversation of trying to sort of talk. Well, Trent is saying that, you know, he's realized he's got, you know, this spark with Savage and he wants with Savannah. So he wants to try and sort of explore that and see how it goes. And, you know, his friends are sort of hyping him up and encouraging him. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. I think this is all producer driven because it doesn't make sense. He had this connection. He was going crazy saying he really wants Tia. He wants Tia. He wants Tia. And suddenly he's name calling Tia and he's saying he's going after Savage when they were all calling her a red flag. What happened? I think the producers have decided that they want to keep Savannah on the show. They want to keep, what's his name, on the show? Zach. So what they're going to do is they're going to attach them to people that are going to stay on the show and create havoc with them and hopefully bring in the ratings. That's the impression that I'm getting, because he then goes and he has a conversation with Savannah and tells her, oh, we have great banter, we get on very well, and I would really like to get to know you and explore. And it's like, oh my God, make it make sense. You've just literally broken up with Tia, and yet you're telling everybody else you're closed off to anyone else but Tia. And less than an hour later, you're already in with Savannah, you're busy talking about coupling up with her. Make it make sense. I didn't like that. And then Zach is getting on my nerves. I'm going to start calling him Mitch, because he then goes to Lucinda and sort of implies that Nate is only with her just because Tia is taken by somebody else. And yet Nate actually told him the truth that, you know, Lucinda is his number one. I don't like how he's minimizing Nate. I don't like how he's making Nate feel less than. His own insecurities is now projecting on Nate, which is not good, because Nate has not sort of involved himself in anyone else's business. He's minded the business that he's on the show for. So he's focused on just being himself and letting the girls sort of come to him. And so the idea that, you know, Zach would be saying things behind his back and sort of trying to sort of belittle him and saying discouraging things about him, I didn't like that. And it's so obvious the producers have told him and Lucinda that they need to make out. It's so obvious that Lucinda is being pushed to go after Zach because the producers think that's where the drama is, because otherwise, personally, it shows that she's after Nate and they're putting these ideas in her head. And as someone who's been on the show, I don't know why she can't see through the BS. I really don't. But anyway, I digress. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 2. Bye, guys.